Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem and here is the news. 485 days less the Russian invasion of Ukraine. At least 2 people were killed, 8 injured in Kyiv as the result of a Russian missile attack this night, reports Bukve. According to the local authorities, air defense forces downed 20 missiles. Debris damaged a 24-story building in one of the city districts and about 40 cars parked in the parking lot next to the building. Earlier yesterday, Russians shelled the city of Kherson, killing at least 3 people. Wagner Group leader Yevgeny Prigozhin claimed that the regular Russian army had launched a missile strike on the rear camps of his troops, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to him, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu flew to Rostov, where he personally coordinated an operation to destroy the mercenaries. On the night of 24th of June, Prigozhin declared that his forces crossed the state border of Russia and were entering the city of Rostov. He said that 25,000 of Wagner mercenaries would restore justice and asked not to call it a military coup. Prigozhin added that Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu had fled Rostov like a coward and that the creature will be stopped. Russia's Ministry of Defense called this statement a provocation. Later in the morning, Prigozhin said that his troops took under their control all military objects in Rostov and were planning to go to Moscow. He said that Wagner mercenaries have already downed 3 military helicopters of the Defense Ministry. Russian President Vladimir Putin has been informed about the conflict between Prigozhin and Shoigu. Early morning on 24th of June, it became known that Putin will address the nation. A criminal case has been opened against Prigozhin for incitement to armed rebellion. Photos of armored vehicles on the streets of the Russian city of Rostov-on-Don are being posted on Russian social media following Prigozhin's statement about a de facto declaration of war against the Russian army. Checkpoints are being set up at entrances to Moscow. Earlier, Prigozhin criticized Shoigu and the general staff for the failure of the hostilities, stating that Ukraine had not planned to attack Donbas in 2022. He said that Russian officials wanted the war and the oligarchs wanted to make money. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and others. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The US focuses on ensuring that the Ukrainian armed forces succeed in their counteroffensive actions while taking into account that the dynamics on the battlefield may change, reports European Pravda. John Kirby, the White House Strategic Communications Coordinator, stressed that he would not comment on Ukraine's counteroffensive instead of the Ukrainian side, but expressed confidence that they would not have started if the Ukrainian military leadership had had a false sense of confidence in its success. Commander of the Ukrainian Ground Forces Colonel General Alexander Syrsky said that the main forces of the Ukrainian army have not yet been involved in the offensive, reports Interfax Ukraine. In an interview with The Guardian, Syrsky said that everyone wants to achieve a great victory instantly and at once, and so does Ukraine. But people need to be prepared that this process will take some time. He informed that Ukrainian troops are now searching, probing for weak places in the enemy defenses. Syrsky has added that the Russians continue to anticipate the most dangerous areas and build a strong defense there, which is difficult to break through. Nevertheless, he is confident that a place for a breakthrough will be found. The general has also said that the groupings of Russian troops on Ukrainian territory currently numbers about 400,000. In his address on the results of the National Security and Defense Council meeting, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky promised that Ukraine, for its part, will meet all the criteria of the European Commission necessary to start negotiations on joining the EU by the end of this year. Earlier, the European Commission presented an oral assessment of Ukraine's progress towards the EU. It believes that Ukraine has fully implemented 2 out of 7 conditions necessary to open accession negotiations, and progress has been made on the remaining conditions. Later in his evening video address, Ukraine's leader said that he instructed Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny to remove the military commissar of Odessa city from his position. Volodymyr Zelensky stressed that this person should definitely not be in the recruitment system of the armed forces. Early media investigators found out that the family of Yevgen Borisov, military commissar of Odessa, had purchased property and cars worth millions of dollars on the Spanish coast during the full-scale war. As military commissar, Borisov is responsible for mobilization of people in the armed forces, as well as giving confirmations to people not fit for military service. Using these papers, people can travel abroad, while it is forbidden for ordinary Ukrainian men who are fit for service. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We are a commercial initiative of just two people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.